All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a notoriously tricky, high-stakes area of the Cambridge AS-level Afrikaans 8679 syllabus. We are looking specifically at the topic area of young people and zooming in on peer groups and targets for advertisers. Now, if you're taking this exam, you already know the basics, so we aren't going to sit here and read definitions from a textbook. Instead, we are going to break down exactly what the Cambridge Assessment Framework absolutely demands from you when tackling these complex, high-tariff questions. By the end of this session, you won't just be regurgitating memorized facts, you are going to be deploying elite, top-tier critical thinking strategies. We're going to dissect complex questions, master your time allocation, and analyze how to properly evaluate tricky source material. So grab your notes, lock in your focus, and get ready, because we are about to completely decode the examiner's mind.
You know, I read a quote recently that said, "The difference between a B and an A star often comes down to how well you understand this topic." And look, I need you to understand that this isn't just some motivational catchphrase. That is a direct, hard-hitting insight drawn straight from the principal examiner reports. Every single year, examiners highlight that students fundamentally misunderstand the hidden mechanics of how peer groups actually function as targets for advertisers within this very specific Afrikaans language context. The entire theoretical architecture of this topic rests on precise definitions, causal relationships, and your ability to integrate it with other syllabus areas. To help us deconstruct these pitfalls today, I'm going to be walking you through a recent digital study session I had with two highly capable scholars, Alex and Sam. Now, Alex is highly technical, loves formulas and facts, but struggles with open-ended evaluation. Sam, on the other hand, is a super creative thinker, amazing at building arguments, but kind of falls apart when it comes to structural precision and timing. Sound familiar? Let's see how top-tier responses navigate these exact examiner traps that trip them up.
Here is our highly structured roadmap for today. 1. Command word anatomy. 2. Core exam principles. 3. The procedural framework. 4. The pause and practice workshop. And finally, 5. The strategy recap. Let's jump in.
Section 1. Command word anatomy. Let's dissect the prompt.
Okay, the hidden constraints of complex, high-tariff questions. I'm talking about those massive 9 to 15-mark essay prompts. These are literally what make or break your final grade. Looking through the examiner's lens, the very first place things go completely off the rails is right at the starting line, misinterpreting the command word. Think of the command word as the steering wheel of your essay. If the prompt asks you to explain how advertisers target peer groups versus to what extent peer groups influence advertising success, guys, those are two entirely different cognitive demands. And this brings us to the absolute most common command word confusion we see on the board: analyze versus evaluate. Look at the contrast here. Analyze requires structural precision and data extraction. Answering an analyze question means breaking down the stimulus material piece by piece. So you get an article about a brand new youth marketing campaign. Analyzing it means identifying the exact linguistic techniques used, pulling the specific data points, and showing how the parts make up the whole. But what about evaluate? Evaluate is a whole different beast. It requires a broader conceptual perspective and alternative interpretations. This is where you actually have to judge the quality of the evidence in front of you. Are the assumptions being made by these advertisers actually realistic? What are the limitations of this specific marketing approach in the real world? If a Cambridge question asks you to evaluate, and you just sit there and analyze by listing facts, you are literally capping yourself at a lower marking band. No way around it. You have to step back and weigh the evidence.
Moving right along to Section 2, Core Exam Principles. Let's talk about analytical depth.
So let me paint a picture of Alex and Sam in their collaborative digital study suite. They are staring down a heavy 15-mark essay question that asks, evaluate the role of peer pressure in modern advertising campaigns aimed at young adults. And almost instantly, they are passionately debating how to lay out their essay to unlock the highest marking bands. Sam is aggressively arguing for a massive conceptual perspective. Sam wants to link the topic to grand psychological theories of youth identity, peer validation, and the broader cultural impacts of globalized advertising. It sounds incredibly smart, right? But then Alex pushes back. Alex wants a purely factual approach. Alex says, no, we just need to define peer group, list 5 specific ways advertisers use social media, and give exact, localized Afrikaans examples. So who's right? Well, prioritizing one over the other is a classic roadblock. I had to step in and remind them what the academic benchmarks for this syllabus actually require. The framework prioritizes deeply structured, logical reasoning and cross-topic connections over superficial breadth. What they actually need is analytical depth. Analytical depth requires bridging the gap between Sam's sweeping concepts and Alex's precise facts. You need both working in tandem.
To really master this, you have to understand the 3 distinct cognitive domains examiners are using to grade you. You have AO1, knowledge and understanding, AO2, analysis, and AO3, evaluation. Successful candidates absolutely must integrate precise definitions and causal relationships across all three of these. You don't just dump facts like Alex wanted to, and you don't just float up in high-level concepts like Sam was trying to do. You use the facts from AO1 to build a solid analysis for AO2, which then serves as the concrete foundation for your evaluation in AO3. It's a ladder. Furthermore, the principal examiner reports highlight something absolutely crucial. Candidates who reference cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. So if you are analyzing an advertisement targeting young people, and you can seamlessly connect that to another syllabus area, say family dynamics or educational pressures or cultural shifts, you instantly signal to the examiner that you possess a holistic mastery over the entire theoretical architecture of the subject. That is how you get the A-star.
All right, Section 3, the procedural framework. Let's look at the technical methodology.
So Alex and Sam are now actively drafting their model response on screen, paragraph by paragraph. But suddenly, they hit a massive roadblock. They are struggling with their timing, and they cannot figure out how to link their opening paragraph about peer influence to the specific advertising data provided in the stimulus material. The clock is ticking, and they are stuck. Now, right before I jump in and reveal the exact cognitive strategy I gave them to instantly bypass this roadblock, I want to take a quick second. If you are serious about crushing your Cambridge exams and you want to master these exact types of high-level strategies, you need to hit that subscribe button right now for Ace the Exam's IGCSE OAA levels. That's at acetheexam_IGCSE. Make sure you turn on all notifications, click that bell so you never miss our weekly Cambridge breakthroughs. We are constantly dropping exam hacks that you won't find in your textbooks. Okay, back to the roadblock. I used a picture-in-picture feature to pause their session and introduce them to the method mark strategy. In Cambridge frameworks, marks are often awarded for the analytical process itself. The procedural framework is strict: deconstruct, extract, select, execute, verify, present. First, you deconstruct the question constraints. Second, extract relevant data from the stimulus. Third, select your analytical framework. Fourth, execute the draft. Fifth, verify for reasonableness. And sixth, present with correct terminology and formatting. It's a literal assembly line for high marks.
Let's actually apply this and rewrite Alex and Sam's flawed paragraph out loud so you can see the transition from a mediocre answer to a flawless, full-mark response. They were trying to do a comparative analysis of two different youth ad campaigns. Their initial draft, a superficial, zero-mark response, sounded like this. Campaign A is cool and uses influencers. Campaign B is boring and uses TV. Obviously, that doesn't cut it. Comparative analysis in this topic requires identifying similarities with specific evidence and identifying differences using comparative connectives. Here's how we fixed it to hit the top band. Whereas Campaign A leverages peer validation through micro-influencers on digital platforms, thereby directly targeting the modern youth's desire for social belonging, Campaign B conversely relies on traditional broadcast media, which fundamentally lacks the interactive peer-to-peer engagement crucial for this demographic. Boom! Do you see that? We moved from cool and boring to precise terminology like peer validation and micro-influencers. And we used comparative connectives like whereas and conversely. That is how you execute and present for maximum points.
Section 4, the pause and practice workshop. Let's test your critical analysis.
Okay, I'm talking directly to you now. Senior examiners consistently ask this fundamental question: why do students find applying concepts to unfamiliar contexts so incredibly hard? I want you to imagine a 60-second visual countdown timer on your screen right now. We are looking at a text excerpt describing a corporate brand trying to leverage highly localized Afrikaans slang to penetrate an exclusive youth peer group. If your instinct during those 60 seconds is just to translate the slang and explain what it means, you've already failed the application. Time's up. The correct path for evaluating that evidence quality requires you to systematically identify the underlying assumptions. The advertisers in the text are assuming that simply using slang automatically equates to brand authenticity. But what is the limitation of that strategy? The limitation is that youth peer groups are hyper-aware of inauthentic corporate pandering. An alternative interpretation, which is where the real evaluation marks live, is that this campaign might actually completely alienate the target audience through cringe marketing. Drawing those deep conclusions about the relative importance of these factors, that is what pure evaluation looks like.
Now, let's play Spot the Flaw. When we display a poorly written student answer, the principal examiner reports highlight 3 classic, almost guaranteed formatting and presentation errors. Number 1, students completely forget to include the proper format. If the question explicitly asks for an article aimed at young people and you write a highly academic essay, you lose massive, easy marks right off the bat. It doesn't matter how good the content is. Number 2, students forget to check their final presentation. The procedural framework demands proper headings, paragraphing, and clear annotation. If you hand in a massive, single block of text with no paragraph breaks, it shows the examiner an absolute lack of logical, structured reasoning. You're making it hard for them to give you points. But number three is so incredibly fatal, it requires our absolute undivided focus.
This is the single most fatal trap set by examiners, providing generic answers that are not specific to the given question context. I cannot stress this enough. If the exam stimulus is about a specific rural youth demographic in South Africa being targeted by a mobile data provider, and you write a beautifully worded but entirely generic essay about teenagers on the internet, you will score terribly. Always link every single point back to the provided scenario. Think of it as a tether. Every single claim you make must have a localized tether to the prompt. If you don't tether your argument, the examiner assumes you have merely memorized a textbook chapter on young people and advertisers rather than actually demonstrating the professional academic skill of applying your knowledge to a dynamic situation. Do not fall for the generic trap.
Finally, Section 5, Strategy Recap. Let's bring it all together.
After our session, Alex and Sam had some major breakthroughs. Alex realized facts need to be evaluated, and Sam realized concepts need structure. So, to synthesize this entire methodology for you, let's cement the procedural framework into 3 memorable pillars. Pillar 1, the 3-step question scan. The moment you turn the page, deconstruct the command word, identify the exact target youth demographic, and isolate the required format. Pillar 2, the paragraph balance formula. Every single paragraph you write must balance factual tethering with conceptual evaluation. Use those comparative connectives to integrate the specifics of the advertising campaign with the psychological realities of peer influence. And Pillar 3, the last 5 minutes review checklist. Verify your results before time is up. Did you use the appropriate terminology? Did you link every single point back to the specific youth advertising scenario provided? Master these 3 pillars, practice them, and you will build an automatic mental reflex for the exam hall.
We have covered an absolute mountain of ground today, from command word anatomy to the deepest levels of analytical depth required for the Afrikaans 8679 young people and advertisers topic. Look, ultimately, advertisers are going to continuously evolve their tactics because youth peer dynamics are constantly shifting and adapting. But the real provocative question I want to leave you with as you continue your studies is this. As digital spaces increasingly blur the lines between genuine peer influence and engineered algorithm-driven marketing, who is actually shaping youth culture today? Is it the peers or is it the platforms? Think about that. And remember, crushing Cambridge exams requires a consistent, elite strategy. Don't leave your grades to chance. Hit that subscribe button right now for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at acetheexam_IGCSE. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our future exam hacks, and drop a comment below right now telling us your target grade. Claim it, work for it, and I'll see you in the next explainer.